San Diego County is known for being one of America's most expensive regions. Locals are feeling the squeeze and looking for solutions. KPBS's new series, Price of San Diego, delves into the rising cost of groceries, childcare, car insurance, and even our beloved California burrito. You won't want to miss this ongoing series live now at kpbs.org/Price of San Diego.
Welcome in San Diego, it's Jade Hindman. On today's show, there's a lot happening in San Diego's arts and culture scene. Hear about a new designated day to honor sustainable fashion, plus a preview of Black Comics Day. This is KPBS Midday Edition, connecting our communities through conversation. The city of San Diego recently named February 13th Sew Loka Day. The sewing shop and studio has been around since 2013. Here's City Council member Vivian Moreno making the official proclamation.
So February 13th marks Sew Loka's 13th anniversary, 13 years of celebrating love for our planet, our community, and the value of caring for the items we already own.
Now, Claudia Rodríguez-Biezunski is the founder of Sew Loka, and she joins me now to talk about what this recognition means to her and what Sew Loka means to the community. Claudia, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Jade.
It's always good to have you here.
I feel the same way. I always love seeing you.
Oh, likewise. I mean, okay, first of all, congratulations. Big congrats to you. What was your thought? What was your reaction when you first got the news?
Well, I'm very emotional. It's really exciting. When you start a business, you never think that it would be successful for even a year. And so now going into our 13th year, I'm like, whoa, this is insane. And, it's really emotional because I feel like I really got that inspiration from my dad. He was, both my parents are immigrants from Guadalajara, Mexico. And my dad was an entrepreneur. He basically would create the things in our garage and we would go sell them at the swap meet. And so for me, not having a college education, being able to, think about like, how could I be successful? I saw that inspiration in my dad where he was so resilient and like, I have to make this happen because he had 6 kids. And so he was like, we got to make it happen some way. So, the American dream of like coming to this country to have this opportunity to basically open up a business and for it to be supported by our community for 13 years is, it makes me want to cry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it is a big sign of perseverance. And 13 years is a milestone because it is going to be 13 years for you come tomorrow, right?
Yes.
How are you reflecting on this milestone?
Well, it's insane because when we started our business, our daughter was 5 months old. So I have 2 teenagers. So can you imagine that, having 2 teenagers?
Yes, and a 5-month-old, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, whoa. And so I'm very much looking forward to a sandwich from the Girls Deli to celebrate. And, it is one of those things where I'm like, wow, patting myself on the back, having a vision, sticking to it. And just that reflection of like anything that you've always wanted to do, you could do. 13 years goes by so quick.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Quick.
Well, tell me, let's go back 13 years. How did Sew Loka get started?
Well, I originally wanted to be a teacher, and then I became an at-risk youth. And so I dropped out of high school, all that kind of stuff. Didn't go to college because it was an overwhelming experience. Both my parents don't speak English. And so I saw my dad as an entrepreneur, and I feel like, there's entrepreneurship in our culture where it's like street vendors, all that kind of stuff. And so I saw that as like, him going to the swap meet, selling and being a vendor, things like that. And I was like, well, if I wanted to be successful, this is an entry point for me. And so I really thought that opening up a business would be easy. And
You
it wasn't.
laugh at that now.
I do laugh at that, and I'm like, wow, you're crazy. It's in the name, but but it's it's nice to look back at how it started. And I've always wanted to have a space where people could congregate and to be inspired by other creatives, and just share a space and create for the sake of creating, but also create for the sake of mental health, all that.
Yeah. It takes a lot of courage too to open your own business.
Yes.
Like you're in the beginning, you're wondering, is this something that people are into? Are they feeling this? Like, you're really trying to take the temperature at first. So I just admire people who go through with it. So there's a growing movement for slow fashion, and it's one that you've been at the helm of. In fact, last time we had you on the show, we talked about the city's recognition of Slow Fashion Day. So how has the slow fashion scene in San Diego changed since you first started here?
It's really changed a lot. In the past, I feel like even year, right, where when I was getting the proclamation at the city, someone came up to me and they're like, we're doing this entrepreneur program for kids to enter sustainability as fashion brands. And I'm like, that is amazing. And so there's so many people that really want to enter that space, not just as entrepreneurs, but people that really just want to be more mindful of their clothes and elongate the timeline of what they're wearing.
Well, you've done so much to actually educate people in that space and about sustainable fashion, especially young people, as you just mentioned. What surprises you or inspires you about this next generation of designers?
They are all about it. They're already thrifting. They're already thinking outside of the box. They're really changing that narrative of how they want to see clothing. And so they're doing all the thrifting, right? They're going to Kobe Swap Meet, looking for all the vintage stuff, all that. And so for me, I'm like, whoa, we're really seeing a shift in what fast fashion was and to what the fashion industry is now. And so it's beautiful. It gives me so much faith that we could, as a community, really change what we really want to see and our impact that we're creating.
I mean, Sew Loka has also played an important role in shaping the cultural identity and the arts in Barrio Logan. Talk more about that and what that's meant for you.
I feel like for me, cultural representation is really important. I grew up in a time that, there was no cultural representation. There wasn't brown people on TV that you could say, wow, that looks like me. And it's really important for us to uplift ourselves, to be able to show that our culture is such a beautiful thing, that we're welcoming people and that we're really hardworking and that we're just like everyone else. We're human. We, have, passion for life. We want to feel appreciated and loved just like everyone else.
And you talk about, representation, and I know through your art and fashion, you really explore your Chicana identity. Yes. Talk about the ways in which you do that.
For me, Chicano, especially putting that label, right, where you're like, well, I'm not a traditional look of what a Chicana looks like. And so I'm actually more Chicana grunge, punk rock kind of vibe. And so there is a lot of Chicanos and Chicanas that are into that. And so I really wanted to make sure that we also have our own avenue of representation of a Chicano also looks like this and also enjoys dressing like this and also appreciates this type of music. We're not just fitting in a box.
Yeah. Well, how do you share your love of art and expression and encourage people to do the same?
I feel like art is such a beautiful, softener for the hardships of life. It's we are surrounded by art, where it's music, where it's paintings on our wall, where it's the clothes that we wear, all that kind of stuff. And art is one of those things where sometimes, if we really think about it, we don't appreciate it as much for what it does for us, for our mental health, for how the color that your bedroom is painted allows for you to to feel happy in the morning. And so for me, art is such a valuable thing in our communities, in our everyday life, to create that kind of feeling of like, wanting to continue. And I know life is hard. We get those moments where you feel a little bummed out, or you're just having those like sluggish moments, but it really allows for us to kind of look at something, get inspired. Specific colors make us happier. And so art is like super, super, super essential in our everyday lives.
Yeah. You mentioned your dad earlier and how he really sparked your interest in art. How does your family continue to inspire your work?
I mean, my mom, she's, the most resilient woman that I've ever met. 6 kids with I think at the time we were making the same amount of money. I think we were making both $6.75. I was working at Pizza Hut and my mom was working at a factory, and she was, basically paying the mortgage and raising 6 kids. And so when things do get hard, I'm like, if my mom could do it, where she was there and she did whatever she could to basically be able to provide for us, I could do anything. Because I start to think about, I'm like, well, I'm more resourceful. I know how to speak 2 different languages. My mom only speaks Spanish. And so then I'm like, if my mom could do it, I could definitely do it. And I have amazing siblings. All of my siblings, they're always like, every time something happens, we're on this group chat and they start sending all the funny memes like, yeah, go, and it is really, understanding that I was an at-risk youth and all those kind of things. And, being able to show my mom now and my family now that I am not that troubled youth anymore, that I actually made something out of myself. I think that it makes it even more special to celebrate those 13 years.
Yeah. It's really motivating and inspiring. I mean, no journey, comes without its challenges, especially in an industry like fashion that's always changing.
Yes.
What are some of the bumps you faced along the way?
Well, I feel like this is still a bump in the way, right? Where, the appreciation of the craft, with the disconnection of where clothing comes from. So it's most of the time people are just kind of like, I bought this shirt, it cost me X amount, and that's not the real cost, right? We're getting it from, a brand that's fast fashion or someone that isn't as ethical as they claim to be. And so trying to change that narrative of how cut and sew designers are viewed. And so that even that phrase is so new that people are like, what is a cut and sew designer? And so someone that actually cuts it and then sews it. And so most of our items that are mass produced, they are handed from one hand to another hand to another hand, where it devalued the skill of sewing. And so really wanting to change that narrative of how people are looking at sewing and products is really important.
Well, one way you're commemorating Sew Loka Day is with a solo art show by Selena Idioma.
Yes.
That's happening this Saturday. So what do people need to know?
It's going to be a really fun time. She's an amazing artist. We're going to have a lot of things where people could come and interact with. We have a lot of arts and crafts happening. She has a really good array of paintings that she's been working on these past couple of months. And so we're excited. It's a fun day for people to come out, be around community, celebrate Selena, celebrate Sew Loka Day. So we're excited.
All right. Well, so what's next for Sew Loka?
Well, we are actually having a fundraiser for the ACLU. Okay. And so we're doing a workshop. We're having 2 workshops where you come and make a tote bag, and all of the proceeds go to the ACLU. So we're excited for that, because being a daughter of immigrants, it feels like I'm not doing enough. And so how can I do more? And so one of my friends, Gabby Ponce, she inspired me to basically want to do more. And I'm really excited to work with her, my partner Manny, and another really good friend. Her name's Lucia. She's a poet. They're going to be doing spoken word in our embroidery lounge. And then we have 18 City Coffees that's going to be serving coffee for people to come by and just have a day of celebration and a day of community where people could just kind of hang out and create a really cool tote. But also the proceeds are going to something really awesome. So
Yeah. It's like you've created not just a sew shop, but a third space.
yes.
Someplace where people can go. It's communal. I love that.
Thank
well,
you.
I've been speaking with Claudia Rodríguez-Biezunski, founder of Sew Loka. We'll link to any events mentioned in our segment on our page at kpbs.org/midday. Claudia, it's always a pleasure, and
Thank you,
congratulations again.
Thank you, Jade. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Still to come, Beth Accomando gives us a preview of this year's upcoming Black Comix Day when KPBS Midday Edition returns. Welcome back to Midday Edition. I'm Jade Hindman. Black Comix Day returns to World Beat Cultural Center this Saturday and Sunday. Since 2018, the event's been celebrating Black creators and artists working in the comics industry. And KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando has been covering the show since its inaugural year at the Malcolm X Library. Well, this year she met with founder Keithan Jones and artist Bryttney Mischele outside the World Beat Cultural Center to talk more about what makes this year stand out.
So Keithan, we are out here in front of the World Beat Center. This is going to be your 8th annual Black Comix Day. How does that feel?
It feels like a blessing. I didn't anticipate this, but here we are going into our 8th year, and I'm excited for the weekend.
Do you feel that anything is changing for this year?
I get to see a lot of the artists that started with the very first show maturate into this 8th show at a higher level from where they started as far as their careers. So some of them were amateurs, just getting into the field. Some were seasoned. We had a few projects going on, but they've gone on to get movie deals, animation deals, bigger book deals with larger publishers. So for me, the difference is just the excitement of seeing these artists grow in front of me. At least their careers grew in front of me.
And the convention itself, Black Comix Day, has grown as well. You started at a library.
Yes, it first started at the Malcolm X Library on Euclid. We did that for 2 years, and then we transferred here to World Beat Center, where Makeda invited us to expand the format of the show. And so that happening expanded the footprint of the show for Black Comix Day. More people are able to recognize it or at least be aware of it.
And do you also feel that the location itself lends itself to Black Comix Day?
Having Black Comix Day at World Beat Center, Balboa Park is fantastic because this is a major tourist attraction in San Diego. So not only people who have acquired the tickets for the show are going to come here, just the general foot traffic, because you have the zoo nearby, you have all the great museums nearby, and now you have Black Comix Day in the mix of all of that. So they can expand their day. Whatever their plans were for Balboa Park, they can expand it to Black Comix Day because it's a free show. And it's free to everyone who's interested. I invite you all to come through and enjoy all of this fantastic art from the Blacks community and pertaining to comic books.
So Black Comix Day celebrates Black creators, and having it here at World Beat Center, it seems like, since this is a place for a lot of African American culture and history, it seems like a nice complement for your show.
Yeah, especially it being Black History Month. We're at a Black-owned establishment owned by Makeda Cheatham, who's been a staple in San Diego for many years, going all the way back to 91X when she ran her reggae hour. And so as far as it pertains to African Americans and just people of African descent, Black Comix Day is a perfect show because it encompasses folks not only that are local, but also from the actual comic book industry, like Marvel Comics, DC Comics, Image Comics, and the like. But the majority of the vendors here are Black-owned publishers, and that's what makes this show different from, say, San Diego Comic-Con. And so I'm excited about that.
And you mentioned that seeing a lot of these creators come back who were here at the first year, they've changed, they've grown. How do you see yourself having grown or changed in this time?
When I first started, I didn't have a crystal ball, so I didn't know how successful the show would be. I just had a feeling that it was a necessary entity that needed to exist. And so I just rolled the dice feeling that, well, me as a professional myself in the comic book industry and also as a fan, I didn't see a lot of representation, especially back when I was a kid, right? It's changed a lot now. You see it all over the place, and that's great, but there were steps to get to that point. And shows like Black Comics Day is one of those, I would like to think, one of those pillars that help prop that up as far as representation in like the mainstream. We've always been here, but when it comes to the majors, it's a little more sparse. And so we're still on our journey trying to change that narrative and also improve the representation that currently exists. Because a lot of times, even though you may have a quote unquote Black show out there, it may be produced by people outside of the community and it may not ring true in certain way that the characters behave or how the dialogue is written or certain cultural cues that are kind of off that can be remedied if you had someone from the actual community writing those stories.
And putting on a convention like this is a lot of work, but in addition to that, you run your own comic publisher and have your own comics. So talk about where you're at with that.
My company is called KID, K-I-D, which stands for The Kid in You Never Dies. And I called it that because when I was a kid here in San Diego, I was going to Los Altos Elementary School here in San Diego, and my 6th grade teacher gave us an assignment. If you could have anything for Christmas, what would it be? And I said, I would love to have my comic published, or at least printed. And she was able to make that dream come true for me. She knew a local printer here, and I wrote and drew this Star Wars story, my own sequel to Empire Strikes Back. And I got some notoriety out of it, and the newspaper, I think it was the San Diego Tribune, the headline said, Kid Comics Keithan. And I remembered that. And so I named my company KID. Fast forward to now, I do this professionally. That's how I make my living. I not only draw comics for myself, I have a slew of clients that I draw comics for. And recently, Image Comics for Christmas released a book that I was a part of called Dread the Halls with Chris Ryle. And so we collaborated on an anthology. That was fantastic. And so, I just balance doing my own creations. For instance, Power Knights, which is a comic that I created, some characters I've had with me since I was like 11 years old. And when I'm not doing that, I'm working on other publishers' work. I stay busy.
And you've mentioned this is a little bit like Comic-Con in terms of how it's set up, but one of the things that's really nice is because it's smaller, people who attend can really have an opportunity to speak to these creators.
Yeah, this is a lot more intimate. Now, when I was a kid, one of the great things about San Diego Comic-Con back in the day, when it was much smaller, you can actually have a one-on-one with these artists, especially if you're an aspiring artist like myself. You can have a good conversation, build up a rapport with these guys, and possibly get work. Now that it's gotten so large, speaking of San Diego Comic-Con, it's a lot harder to do that without a scheduled meeting or something of that sort. But here at Black Comics Day is a bit of a throwback. It's still small enough to be intimate. You can, especially you young artists out there, particularly you artists of color, if you come on through, bring your art, show your work to these writers, because they're always hiring someone to do one of their fantastic ideas they have bouncing around in their head. So it's that type of environment where it's not as hectic, but it may be one day. But right now it's still very open and very inclusive, and you can and very intimate. And I hope to keep that thread going as it goes through the years, where young artists or even older aspiring artists can network.
And another part of Black Comics Day are your panels. What do you have this year lined up?
This year we have a panel. We have a traditional panel we do every Saturday called Empowered. And Empowered has a different theme that we tackle every year. So this year's theme is, what is Afrofuturism? Now, Afrofuturism, in my view, and what I would like to curate it as, if you think of Japanese comic book artists, everyone knows we call that manga. or anime. So I'm thinking for Afrofuturism, it could be a moniker or at least a signifier of black artists or artists of African descent that produce in this space, this comic book, pop culture space, under the moniker Afrofuturism. So the panel itself is going to be about defining that term, where we are with it, where we think we're going with it, and so it should be a fun, interesting panel. And of course, the audience can ask the panel questions on, or whatever questions they may have about what we're doing here at Black Comics Day. Sunday, we have a special guest. We have Jordan Childs, Olympian Jordan Childs of the Team USA. She and her cousin, Ruben Warren, who is also a comedian and comic book artist. So Jordan and Ruben are going to debut their book, Mindset, which is based on Jordan Childs' likeness and her aesthetics as far as what she represents as a black woman, as an Olympian, a black woman, and person of color in the creative space. They're going to debut that book here at World Beat Center, Black Comics Day, Sunday, February 15th. One day only, so that should be exciting.
And are there any other guests that you want to highlight?
Oh man, we have Kevin Grievous, the actor, Kevin Grievous, who is also the writer of the Underworld movies. You know, if you're into werewolves and vampires fighting each other. Little do people know he also wrote those movies and he acted in those movies. So he'll be here on hand with his comic books. And we have a whole slew of black-owned publishers, too many to list off the top of my head, which is what me personally, that's what I'm excited about. Because you want to tell kids out there in the community, hey, you can be anything, but they don't necessarily see it. This show, you can actually meet these people and see these people. And that, to me, makes it more real. It has more weight behind it. So I'm excited for children from our community to come down here and see actual representation in the flesh versus just hearing about it. Hopefully one day my vision for Black Comics Day is to actually expand to the point where some of these major films like Black Panther can actually have a sneak preview here. So that's like kind of my bigger vision for the show.
And this year, you'll be celebrating Black Comics Day on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, date night. Date night. Come get your comic book, come get your art, experience of black culture. And that's another thing I want to make sure that people understand that, yes, it's called Black Comics Day, but this show's open to everyone. It's an inclusive show, and I encourage people outside of this community to come through, experience something different. We have a good time. And also there's great food here. There's great food at the World Beat Center. So you come and get some fresh food versus all that processed stuff.
All right, well, thank you very much for talking about Black Comics Day.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And once again, Black Comics Day happens February 14th through the 15th, Saturday and Sunday. It is free for everyone. The rest of it you'll just have to discover when you get here.
For this year's Black Comics Day, Keithan is trying something new by bringing in fine artist Bryttney Mischele.
Through her art, she likes to express her personal journey through life that I think a lot of people can relate to.
I had a chance to speak with Bryttney Mischele, and because she doesn't create comics, I asked her to describe what kind of art she does create.
Ooh, that's a big question. So I am not an illustrator or comic book artist. I am a fine arts artist. So I do a lot of painting with surreal expressionist style. So it's a mixture of mediums. So strictly painting is my favorite thing to do. So it's exciting to be engulfed in this world and welcomed in by the Black comics community. So, yeah.
And one of the things that's always nice about Black Comics Day is that the attendees have a real opportunity to interact with the creators. So are you looking forward to talking to younger people who may be looking into this as a potential career?
Absolutely. I work with kids all the time, so it's always exciting to show them that this is a possibility for a career, for even a hobby, a passion. Being able to speak with people about the art and being able to speak with them specifically about the art that speaks to them is really exciting for me.
And how do you feel about this being here at World Beat Center?
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. I went to San Diego High, which is right down the street from here. I've been in this space so many times as a young person, and I've been to vending events here as a young person and watching how the other artists present themselves, and being surrounded by so much beautiful art and culture really speaks to me as an artist. A lot of my art illustrates what Black culture could mean beyond just the stereotypical things, and it's really exciting to be surrounded by so many symbols of our beauty. So I'm excited to be a part of this, and it's exciting to know that I'm gonna be a part of that memory for someone else.
And what do you think the importance is of having Black Comics Day here in San Diego?
So it's important for so many reasons, but I think the biggest one is representation. Like being able to see somebody else that looks like you do the thing that you've been wanting to do, that's such an inspiration. That's the passion that I have for my artistry is so big, and the passion that I see in other people when it comes to creation and how excited they get about being like, I want to do that, and me telling them that they can, them discovering that they can, that's so magical as an artist, and I think that's what we need more of.
That was artist Bryttney Mischele and Black Comics Day founder Keithan Jones speaking with KPBS's Beth Accomando. Black Comics Day will take place this Saturday and Sunday at World Beat Cultural Center in Balboa Park. The event is free. That's our show for today. I'm your host, Jade Hindman. Thanks for tuning in to Midday Edition. Be sure to have a great day on purpose, everyone.
KPBS On Demand is supported by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating and Air, Restoration and Flood Services. Family owned and operated over 4 decades, Bill Howe has been serving the plumbing, heating and air, and water damage needs of the San Diego area since 1980. With their fleet of trained professionals, Bill Howe has the ability to service all major and minor plumbing and HVAC emergency needs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Bill Howe is committed to providing excellent service to their customers with transparent quotes and attention to detail on every job. Whether you're in need of an HVAC installation, plumbing, or water damage restoration in San Diego, they offer the convenience of scheduling an appointment over the phone, online, or through live chat on their website. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com because we know how.